welcome to Golf My Way 2. Before we begin trying to help you with your golf game, I'd like to thank our hosts, the Loxahatchee Club here in Jupiter, Florida. I hope you like what you see of the golf course, because I not only designed it, but I do most of my practicing and playing here when I'm home. Loxahatchee is a private club and also a residential club. We're here in the high season, so inevitably, this member is inconveniencing other members. And he wants to offer his sincere thanks for their tolerance and understanding. Now on with the business of helping your golf game. I've always looked upon golf as a two-part game. The first half is striking the ball and hitting shots, and we covered that very completely in Golf My Way 1. The second half of the game is managing yourself and the golf course, making the most of your shot-making ability to bring in the lowest possible score every time you play. Most people work much harder at the first half of the game than the second, with the result that they never achieve their full scoring potential. When I've struck the ball well but managed my game poorly, I've rarely won. But I've won many times when I've hit the ball poorly but managed myself and the golf course well. That's what this show is all about. Mind over muscle. What do I mean by that? I think when you play a golf course, and every golf course is different, of course, but position on the golf course, where you hit the ball, where you position your tee shots, where you position your second shots, are far more important than how far you hit the golf ball. Sure, power is an important part of the game, and it can be used in part of using your mind sometimes as power, because you can take bunkers and trees and water hazards and things out of play with power. But in general, if you use your head going around the golf course, playing with your head, playing to position, then that's the most important thing. I think one of the most perfect examples of that was 1966. I won the British Open at Muirfield. That year we had a hayfield for rough. It was knee high. I mean, if you hit it in the rough, it was a lost shot. If you hit it in a bunker, it was a lost shot. I only used my driver 17 times during that whole golf tournament. I used a 1-iron, 3-wood, 3-iron, 2-iron. I played all kinds of clubs off of the tee to put myself in the right position. The result? I was in the right position more times than anybody else, and I ended up winning the golf tournament. Mind over muscle. Playing the percentages. That's what the pros call it. What do I mean by playing the percentages? Well, if you've got out of bounds on one side of the hole, and there really isn't much trouble, and they're light rough or even trees or something, I would much rather have the ball in the trees than I would out of bounds. There's nothing worse than turning to your caddy and saying, "May I have another ball, please?" That's 2 strokes. I can always figure out some way to get the ball off the left side of the fairway or out of the trees into the green. And what I'm trying to do is, if the fairway is 40 yards wide and I got out of bounds 5 yards to the right of that fairway, then I'm going to favor the left 20 yards of that fairway. That's where I'm going to play. If I miss a little bit, then I might put it in the right side of the fairway, but my odds are that I'm going to keep it in the left side or even in the left rough. If I have a second shot, if I'm in the rough and I'm playing into the green, I've got water on one side or I've got a deep bunker on one side, I want to make sure that I hit the smart approach shot and leave myself, if I miss it, in a place that I can recover. I want to make sure that I have an uphill putt. I don't want to put myself in a position where I can 3-putt. If I happen to miss that green, then the little pitch shot that I'm going to play, I want to make sure that my recovery is in a position that I have the easiest putt possible. All these things put together result in getting a lower score. I think that is really what we're trying to do, is play the percentages to try to get a lower score. Of course, some shot-making ability is necessary to play the game this way. And I'm going to review that for you, as I did completely in Golf My Way 1. As I said earlier, you're going to need some ball striking technique to be able to play golf this way. So I'm going to review a little bit of the fundamentals from Golf My Way 1, starting with my 3 exercises that I've used for years. They're just very simple, and when I want to start practicing, I want to make sure I don't hurt myself. So I've done my morning exercises at home, but when I get to the golf course, very first thing I do is just swing very loosely, not trying to create any tension. I want to make sure I'm relaxed. And I just swing the club very loosely. And next I take the club behind my back and just rotate my upper body. That's just to stretch my back and my shoulders, and just very gently. Then I put the club in the small of my back and I sort of stretch my lower back and forth. I do these things every morning just before I start hitting balls, just to make sure I don't hurt myself. Then I go in to hitting golf balls. Starting out with very loosely hitting a pitching wedge. Very lightly. Make sure that the first few shots that I hit, I'm not going to hurt myself. That's my warm-up routine. I'm here with a pitching wedge, and most people think you use a different swing for every club. I've got 14 clubs in my bag, but basically, except for the putter, I'm using exactly the same swing and exactly the same technique for all. Certainly, as the club gets longer, the swing gets a little bit longer, but the swing is the same tempo, the same speed, and fundamentally, everything is exactly the same. Here with a pitching wedge. Let's see that again. Here with 5-iron, using exactly the same swing, exactly the same tempo. Just a little wider stance. Swing that's a little longer because the club gets a little longer. And with a 3-wood. All are the same. Obviously, the swing's going to be a little bit longer with a 3-wood, just because it's a longer golf club. But everything is essentially the same. The game of golf is difficult enough to develop one swing, let alone 14 different swings. So remember, one basic swing for all clubs, not 14 different swings. Now, to build that one basic swing, I think you have to start with the most fundamental of all fundamentals, and that's how do you grip the golf club. Now, I try to grip the golf club or do anything in the game of golf as natural as possible. And so as though my hands were hanging to my side, I want to make sure that I would just put the club in the left hand just as though it was hanging there at my side. So I lift the club up, my right hand, just as I reach it out to you, I put it basically straight on the golf club. Now, both hands are right dead against each other, separated and closed. That's how I put my hands on the club. Now, I don't care whether you use an interlocking grip, an overlapping grip, or a baseball grip. I don't think how you connect your hands really make any difference at all. Whatever's comfortable for you. I think what is important, though, is that you're using the solid part of your left hand, the back of your left hand is in front of the club. So that I pick the club on the left hand across the palm. In the right hand, I'm delivering the power. So I use the fingers of the right hand. So I put the palm of the left hand, the fingers of the right hand, put them together, and get a good, comfortable, solid grip so that it can deliver the club without any tendency to want to turn one way or the other. In a natural position, that is a good grip. You can have all the correct basic fundamentals and the most beautiful golf swing in the world and hit great golf shots, but if you can't aim it, you're obviously not going to get the ball on the target. I use a very simple method for aiming a golf ball. I find that it's much easier to aim at something a couple of feet away or 3 feet away than it is something 150 yards away. I've placed a tee down here in my line. Now, what I do is I walk behind the ball and I find a spot that's easily recognizable down the line of this target, right here, okay? In this case, this tee. I walk back, I look at it, I walk up to the ball, I take a parallel stance to the line of the target. I draw that line back through here on the ground. I also know that the ball is placed approximately off my left heel when I do that. So I not only know I'm lined this way, but I've got correct alignments this way. Now I can stand here all day long and make good golf swings, and the ball should go at the target. So what I do is I take that parallel stance, I walk up, I adjust for comfort, and then I hit the golf ball. Remember, pick a spot just in front of your ball. It makes alignments much easier. In order to hit good golf shots, you have to have good balance. And to have good balance, you have to have good posture and good stance. Now, what I mean by that is I'm standing here talking with you. I don't have my weight on my toes, my heels, my right foot, or my left foot. My weight is very much balanced in the middle of my feet. I bend slightly over from the waist. As I hold up the grip club out here, and I bend slightly from the waist, let the club come to the ground. And I let my legs not be bent, not be straight, but relaxed. I mean, all sports are sort of played from what I call the ready position. In other words, you're ready to be able to move in any direction. You've got good balance. And I think golf is no different. You must be in that position to be able to shift your weight comfortably, shift your weight back this way. Your head is in the middle of your body. Leave it in the middle of your body. So I try to take a stance that as the clubs get longer, it gets wider. As the clubs get shorter, it gets narrower. I think a stance is very important to be on balance and a comfortable width. Legs slightly bent, just relaxed. Head right in the middle of the body, and then the swing is performed around the head, all in good balance. As you're making the golf swing, if you find that your head moves back, it's going to throw you out of balance. If you move from the top of the swing with your head, you're going to throw that over, your lower body is going to come back this way. The body wants to balance you. In other words, whatever happens, your body's going to try to balance. If you're swinging the golf club and moving head with your legs, your body's going to want to come back. The game of golf is played with a good, solid stance, and the game of golf is played inside your feet. So if we can keep the balance inside our feet, we have a chance for recovery. In other words, as we swing the golf club, I want to make sure that my balance stays inside my feet. As we swing through, I want to make sure the balance stays inside my feet. Good stance, good posture results in good balance. I don't care how many of the fundamentals in the game of golf you work on. If there's one most important fundamental that you must work on, and that's head position. I think head position is the cause of most faults in a golf swing. The moving of the head, the up and down, moving of the head back and forth, all these cause more problems than you can believe. I try to work as hard as I can in the golf swing. I talked about it in balance here a second ago. And I work as hard as I can to try to keep my head in one position, in the center of my body. I like to feel as though there was a shaft that came right down through my head and down through the middle of my back, and I rotated my upper body on that with my head remaining there, right in position. My head can turn, but I don't want it bobbing up and down. I don't want it moving back and forward. And each motion that I make, moving my head, I have to counteract that with another point in my swing on the balance. My head goes down, then my weight goes to my toes, so I have to shift back to my heels. If my head goes up, my weight goes to my toes, so I have to come back the other way. I mean, if I move my head back, then all of a sudden I have something that's going to have to throw myself out of balance to come the other way. I mean, no matter what I do, there's a reacting thing that's going to cause me a problem. So the most important thing in the golf swing is to keep our head right there, dead still, feel as though There's a shaft down through your head, and you just keep it right there and revolve right around that area. And when I do that, I produce good golf shots. If you were to pick one part of the golf swing that was the most important, what part would you pick? Well, I think you'd obviously have to say the start of the swing, because everything that happens after the start of the swing is reactionary to that. So, if I start the club back on the outside, if I start the club back on the inside, or I take it too low or too high, all of it's going to result in something awkward through the rest of my golf swing. I want to be very smooth, very steady, very slow, and very precisely straight away from the ball. All these things produce a good backswing. From that point, the rest of the golf swing should happen automatically, like this. And make sure that I take the club away very precisely and very smoothly, straight back. Without a smooth and steady start, you're going to produce a lot of bad golf shots. When I hit a golf shot, I want to get the most out of that golf club that I can get. And with a little short, narrow arc and a little handsy swing, I'm not going to get all the power out of that golf club that I can get. I want to make sure that I take as wide and full a turn as I can possibly make to get it completely coil myself at the top of the backswing. I want to make sure that I swing through the club ball and get as full an extension through the ball and complete follow-through as possible. This combination gives me the widest, fullest arc, and the most potential I can get out of that golf club with my body for each golf club. I think that's important. So what I try to do is make sure that I take a comfortable stance, nice and smooth, and a nice, big, full turn. Back and through. It should produce longer, straighter golf shots. To repeat a golf swing, you should try to get in the proper sequence of motion. What I mean by that is that the game of golf works from the ground up. Meaning when you start your backswing, the first thing to finish the backswing is your feet. Then your knees, your hips, your upper body, your shoulder, your arms, your hands, and then the club. And exactly the same sequence starting down. Since your feet were the first to finish going back, your feet are the first to start coming down. So your feet start here, then your knees, your hips, your upper body, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, and the club is the last thing to start down. To be in that proper sequence with each club gives you a nice flowing motion. It creates the most possible leverage that you can create back here to get the most club head speed at impact. I'll show you what I mean. We take the club back. You'll see the feet stop first and the club is the last to stop. And just the opposite coming through. A proper sequence of motion is essential in repeating your golf swing. What hits the golf ball? Obviously, this hits the golf ball, the club head. So the faster this moves, the further it's going to propel that little golf ball. So what do we have to do to make that happen? Well, we have to release the golf club completely. That's the most important thing to do to make this move fast. Now, how do we release it? What do I mean by a release? I mean a release is being at a complete full extension at the time of impact of the golf ball. Okay? My club head meets that. I want to be as far away from the golf ball as I could possibly be during that golf swing. Okay? Now, how do I do that? I go to the top of the swing. As I get to the top of the swing, the first thing I do at the top of the swing is I release the golf club. I let it go. I don't hold on to the golf club here and try to bring it down. What I think most people talk about bringing it into the hitting area. I let the golf club go right here down the line. If I stay on my right foot, then I'm hitting from the top. But if I take that exact same motion and move to the left side, it looks like I've made a good golf swing. So I release the club right from here so that when I come to impact, as I said, I'm as far away from the ball as I can be, but I'm also facing the golf ball at impact with my upper body. If I have moved my body past the ball at impact, then I'm not going to get a complete release if I'm facing past it out here. If I have left my body behind the ball here, then I have probably been in a wrong position to start with my head too far behind the ball, and I'll probably hit a hook and the ball will go off to the left. So to face the ball at impact, get a complete release is very important to get the maximum club head speed at the ball. Right here. This is a complete release. A very important part of being consistent and playing good golf. Now to finish up on this review of the golf swing, let me hit you a few shots and you can see the fundamentals in slow motion. Starting out with a pitching wedge. Narrow stance. Now with a 7-iron, a little wider stance. A little further away from the ball. Now with a 3-iron, a little wider stance again. A little good balance and good posture. Three wood, wider stance yet. Ball still in the same position, aim still the same, tempo still the same. And we'll hit a driver. Playing good golf starts a long time before you tee up on number one. Here's how I begin to prepare myself for an important round. When I first get up in the morning, I'm trying to prepare myself for that first tee shot, the most important shot of the day, to get off to a good start. How do I prepare myself, get myself in the right frame of mind? Well, I get up at least 2.5 hours before I play. If I'm playing in the morning, a little longer than that if I'm playing in the afternoon. I get up in the morning, go have breakfast, which might consist of orange juice, melon, cereal, sometimes an egg white omelet, some decaffeinated coffee, something that isn't going to hop me up, something that's not going to fill me up, but something that's going to give me good energy, good complex carbohydrates for the day. I try to get to the golf course about an hour and a half before I play. I want to make sure that I am relaxed, not rushing. I want to make sure that I'm getting my mind on what I'm doing. I go to the practice tee about 45, 50 minutes before I tee off. I hit balls for about 25 minutes, go to the putting green, hit a few putts, hit a few long putts, hit a few short putts, then hit a few chips. And about 6, 7, 8 minutes before I'm supposed to play, I go to the first tee. I want to make sure that I have plenty of time to get there to count my clubs, make sure that I have 14 clubs, make sure that everything's settled, everything that I want is ready, and I'm relaxed and I have a minute to just sort of take a couple of breaths, relax, think about that tee shot, tee the ball up, and say, okay, I'm ready to play. I've taken my game from the practice tee, the first tee, now let's show it. Get up, do my routine behind the ball, take a couple of practice swings because it's been 20 or 25 minutes since I've really hit balls. And then I'm ready to go. Concentrate, focus on what I want to do. This is probably the most important shot of the day. Get off in the right frame of mind. Focus on that. Make up my mind what I'm going to do, and then do it. Hopefully from there, you've got yourself started in the right direction. When I'm getting ready to play a round of golf, I want to make sure that what I have in my golf bag is what I need on the golf course. I don't really want to carry a lot of extra weight for my caddy. I also want to make sure that I have enough. I have my golf bag, of course, with the bag cover. I have 14 golf clubs. I carry a driver, a 3-wood, a 1 through 9 iron, pitching wedge, sand wedge, and a putter. That's my 14 clubs. I always have an umbrella, and I always like the oversized umbrella. I always carry 6 to 12 golf balls. I use 3 golf balls at front 9, 3 golf balls at back 9, and if I happen to cut 1 or 2 of them or lose a couple, I'll make sure I have a few spares. I always carry some spare tees. I carry some new gloves and some used gloves, ones that I've already broken in. I always carry some Band-Aids. Never know when bug spray might come in handy. Rule book, yardage booklet, local rules, rain suit, spare sweater, rain hat, and of course, I generally put in a little bit of food, going whether it be a banana or whether it be a roll or something that my wife has made for a little energy during the round. Those are the things I need to take on the golf course. Of course, then back in my hotel room, when I'm traveling, I'll generally speaking have a few spare golf clubs. I always carry 1 or 2 spare putters, a spare driver, occasionally a spare 3-wood, and usually I carry spare wedges. You never know when something might happen to one of the clubs that are really clubs that you play a lot of shots with. So I always have a spare with me. When I go to the British Open, I might add in a heavier sweater, I might add in a heavy hat, or I might even have some mittens. I want to make sure that when I get to the golf course that I'm prepared and I don't have to go find something else. Drive for show and putt for dough, not in my book. The correct strategy for playing every hole begins on the tee. I think to produce better golf shots time after time, you should develop a procedure or a routine and something that you can follow and something that will take the pressure off of you when you get under pressure situations. Now, what I try to do is I stand behind the golf ball and I sort of imagine or visualize what is in front of me. I assess the situation. What type of shot do I have? This is the opening hole here at Loxahatchee, and the wind's a little bit right to left. I'd like to use the fairway. In other words, I like to use the right side of the fairway and bring the ball across it with a real right-to-left shot. That's the easiest shot to get started off here. So I'm going to aim the ball up the right center of the fairway and use the left half of the fairway to bring the ball in from. I think a reasonably high tee shot, one that's soft, one that's not running too far, it's not a long hole. I want to keep the ball into the fairway and not have it move so much. So I sort of visualize all that in my mind. I sort of say, okay, Now, Jack, that's the shot you want to play. Now, how do you play it? Well, I sort of think, well, I want to sit here and aim up the right side. I want to go ahead and take a pretty normal swing. I want to make sure I get a good release. I want to make sure my head stays in position so I get the club released. The ball will go up in the air and fall to the left. That's sort of my thought pattern. Okay, I've got that on my mind. Now, as I stand behind it, I pick that spot out that's going to aim up the right side of the fairway. I got, maybe there's a little white spot in the front of my ball here. I'll aim maybe 2 inches to the right of that. And I walk up to the ball, sort of place my club behind the ball, draw a straight line back through that spot, take a parallel stance to it. Still keeping in mind and visualizing the shot that I want to play. And I adjust for comfort, make sure that I'm doing what I want to do, and then before I can change my mind or get negative thoughts in my mind, then I want to hit it. I ought to try that more often. Now, if you're going to use a procedure, and I think you should use a procedure, what it's going to do for you, it's going to, first of all, it's going to put firmly in your mind the type of shot you want to play. It's going to, you fully assess the situation, and you're going into the thing with a positive frame of mind, and it will relieve the pressure, relieve any outside thoughts. It'll allow you to step up to the ball and do what you think you need to do to make the best shot. When I sort of map out my strategy of how to play a hole, I sort of look at the hazards in a descending order. Obviously, out of bounds is the worst of the hazards. Nothing worse than turning to your caddy and say, "Can I have another ball, please?" because you've got a two-stroke penalty. I mean, that's just something you must avoid. The second worst penalty would be water. You put the ball in the water, you've obviously either going to play it back here at the tee or you're going to play it up somewhere, but you're going to lose distance in a stroke. The next situation is if you have bushes or unrecoverable a situation such where you could create an unplayable lie. Those are situations that you want to select your club off the tee accordingly. And then if you might have a deep or a steep lip bunker, which obviously is a situation if you need to have 200 yards to the green and you hit it in that bunker and you only hit a wedge out, you're not going to get it there. So that's another situation you want to avoid. Deep rough on one side of the fairway or both sides of the fairway, which might mean that I might want to hit an iron to keep the ball into the fairway. Is there severe ground where I'll get an awkward stance? Is there a shallow or low lip bunker which might be difficult if I have to hit a long iron out of it, but not so difficult if I have to hit a short iron. I might not have to worry about it. Light rough. I mean, light rough might be a situation where it might be an advantage to put the ball in the rough. I may get a better angle to the hole. I might have a slight ground slope, which might or might not help the second shot, or might hurt it. Or I might end up in bare ground, which is a situation that maybe I just don't want to be there, or I might want to assess the situation if I get a better situation from the bare ground than I would from the fairway. Sometimes I'll even play that. So if you look at the hazards, I mean, hazards may be penalties, obviously, out of bounds, water, or unplayable lie, or a deep lip bunker, something that's not recoverable. They're things you have to avoid. But sometimes other hazards are really not much of a factor. And you have to calculate whether it's better to take a chance on them and get a better angle to the hole or a better second shot and not worry about them than worry about them. So I think you just have to assess the situation, figure out what are your best possibilities, and then go after it. When I'm driving a golf ball, I never try to hit a straight shot. In other words, meaning I never aim the ball down the center of a fairway, because if I have a 40-yard fairway and I'm not sure whether I'm going to hook it or slice it, I've only got 20 yards to move it in. Everybody always has a bread and butter shot. For me, it's been left to right through the years. In other words, I can aim down the left side of the fairway. If I happen to hit it straight or move it a little bit left, I'm still probably all right. But if I'm going to try to fade it, I've got that 30 or 40 yards of fairway to fade the ball in. It gives me more room for air. And all golfers are that way. Most everybody's either a slicer or have a tendency to hook. And so I think it's very important to be able to pick your shot, pick your best shot, and when you got a tight situation, make sure you use it. In other words, like here, I'm going to aim down the left side of the fairway, cut the ball back up into the wind, and hold it there. Aim down the left side, open the club face slightly at address, and then just swing there. A little left to right, right down the fairway, you'll be able to play from there. Now, for some people, hitting a draw is an easier shot. And when I want a little extra distance and I'm going to try to reach a par 5, then I'll more than likely go to the right to left shot because the ball seems to run a little bit further. It seems you can hit it a little bit harder and it goes a little further when you play it right to left. So I aim down the right side of the fairway, close the face just a little bit at address. Make sure I stay behind the ball. Make a good turn and release it. I like that one too. Let me give you a little refresher of how I play those two shots. First of all, the right to left shot. I simply stand up to a golf ball, close the club face slightly, aim to the right of the target, and take a normal golf swing. Now with the driver, because I'm taking so much of the loft off the golf club, I close the club face slightly, but I drop my head slightly behind the ball, which means that I will come into the golf ball a little bit more from the inside with a little bit of a closed face, but I'll be hitting a little bit on the upstroke, so I still will have a little loft on the shot. Playing left to right, all I do is open the club face at address, aim to the left of the target, and take a normal golf swing. That's a simple way to play a right to left or left to right golf shot. Ah, what an awkward shot. It wasn't really the shot, though, that was awkward. It was the stance, the position I left myself. The third hole here at Loxahatchee Club has a high fairway, a nice flat shelf up here at the top of the hill. It has a transition area, the side of the hill where my ball finished, and it has a low fairway. If you can't hit it all the way to the low fairway, you have a good chance of ending up on this side hill lie, rather than back up here on the shelf, which is a nice, easy shot. So, position is a very, very important thing off the tee. Get off of a side hill lie. Get yourself back up here on the flat. Get yourself to where you can play from a nice flat. Yes, I played 6-iron down here on the side of the hill, but a very awkward stance made it a very difficult shot. Up here on top of the hill, yes, I have 2 clubs more. I might have to play a 4-iron to the green, but, you know, I don't think that's any big deal. You're going to use the same golf swing with a 4-iron than you are with a 6-iron. It's a much easier shot from a flat lie. So if I take a little bit off the tee shot by playing a 3-wood, or maybe cut a driver, put something just up here on the flat, it puts me in a position to be able to play to any pin position on the green, play any kind of shot that I want to play. On the side hill lie, it leaves me in a very awkward situation of being limited to just being able to try to hit the ball solidly and get it somewhere on the green. So the whole point of what I'm saying here is that position off the tee is very, very key in playing a hole. Think about where you want to hit your tee shot. Think about where you want your ball to finish. Choose the club on the tee that will leave you in a position to play a variety of shots. Fit any situation. So here we are, about 185 yards, playing a 4-iron. With a much better result than off the side of the hill. Think about it. On the tee, think about what club you want to play, where you want the ball to finish. Play that club so that you have the easiest second shot to the green. There are times when we all want to hit the ball further. We want to hit the ball further down a hole to get a shorter shot to the green. Well, there are many times when that's an advantage to do. If I've got a hole where there really isn't a great risk, a very long par 4, such as this hole, the 9th hole at Loxahatchee, it's a 431-yard par 4, I can gain something by hitting the ball an extra 20 yards further. Now, if I have a par 5 where I can get home in 2, that's an advantage. I might try it there too. But I only want to hit the ball hard when there is an advantage. Otherwise, I want to make sure I keep it in play. So I'm going to head on this particular hole and take the gamble and try to get it down a little further, because it is definitely an advantage to hit the ball a little closer to this green. It's not a large green, and one that accepts obviously a 6 or 7 iron better than it does a 3 or 4 iron. Okay, now, we all want to know the one question: how do you hit it further? Well, there's only one thing I know, and I say make the golf club head move faster. Not my arms, not my hands, not my legs, not everything else, just the club head. Now, when I do that, I have a tendency to want to swing as fast as I can. So what I'm going to try to do to hit the ball further, to make this move faster, is to make sure that I use all of my elements in my swing to their fullest degree. I want to make it long and full swing as I can possibly make. I want to make sure that my legs are driving to create as much leverage so that when I release that club head, the club head is coming into the ball faster. And I want to make sure that I make a long finish to keep that club head moving so that I don't ever stop the ball or stop the club head in the hitting area. All these are very important. But the natural tendency when you want to hit the ball hard is to swing faster. So I make a very conscious effort to swing more slowly so that I give myself all the time in the world for all those elements to happen, so the club head can move faster and the ball will go further. Show you what I mean. Make sure that I get nice and relaxed up over the ball. Make sure that I'm in a comfortable position. Make sure that my aim is the same. Make up my mind what I'm going to do. And then that first 6 inches is very important. Make sure that I take the club away a little bit more slowly. And if you do that, I think you're going to find that you're not only going to hit the ball further, but you're also going to control it better than if you would if you'd just taken a wild swing at it. Give it a try. When I'm getting ready to play that first tee shot of a major championship, just like you're getting ready to play your first tee shot of any golf tournament, I'm just as nervous as you are. I want to make sure that that opening tee shot, one of the most important shots of that golf tournament, is just as good as a tee shot that I'm going to play on any other hole. I want to make sure that I'm good and relaxed. I want to make sure I get to the tee in plenty of time so that I can sort of collect myself, get ready, make up my mind what kind of shot I'm going to play, get it in my head that the shot I'm going to play is the right shot for that hole. Imagine it, assess the situation, do all those things. Now, once I've made up my mind what the right shot is, through the years I found there are 2 things in my golf swing that I need to watch. I always have a tendency to want to get quick on that first tee shot. So I want to make sure that I take the club away slowly so that I can keep a good tempo, a good timing, and good pace for that golf swing. Secondly, everybody wants to watch where the ball is going to go. So I have to make sure that I keep my head still so that I don't look up and watch where that ball is going to go. If I keep my head still, get a good slow backswing, know the shot I'm going to play, and play it, then my chances of playing a good opening tee shot are pretty good. So here I am. I'm behind the ball. I line it up where I want to go, get it in my head positively what I want to do with the ball, walk up behind it, take my parallel stance, club behind the ball, parallel stance. Know the shot, got it in my mind, don't get any negative thoughts, get that positive thought of what I want to do. Take the club back slowly and keep my head still. And when I start out hitting a good tee shot like that, it gives me confidence. And I'm ready to play the rest of the golf course. You need to use your mind ahead of your muscles in every part of golf, but never more than in your shots to the green. This, more than any place, is where you make or break your score. I don't ever play a shot if I don't know the exact distance. Here I am in the fairway. I'm 2 paces behind the 157 sprinkler. The 157 sprinkler is to the center of the green. So that means I'm 159 yards to the center of the green. The pin's a couple of yards short of that, so maybe I've got 156, 155 yards. That's not good enough when I'm playing a tournament. I want to be exact. I want to know exactly how far I am. I want to know exactly how far it is to the front of that green so I know what club I can take out of my bag to make sure I get it over the front of the green. I want to know how far it is to the back of the green. So I want to make sure I can pick a club out of my bag that I won't reach the back of the green. I want to know how far it is to carry a bunker that may be on the side of the green or a little appendage that goes around the side, or how close the pin is to one side so I can play onto the safe side of that hole. I always want to know all the information I have, and I can put it in my little computer here and say, okay, I've ended up with 157 yards. I've got 13 yards in front of the pin. That means that I've got 144. A good 8-iron might get me to the front, but more than likely I'm going to need a 7 to get it into the green, or a 6 to get it into the center of the green. An average 6 will probably carry me around in that area. So I mean, I'm starting to think of all those things when I'm playing a golf shot. Now, how do I do that, and how do I prepare myself for a round of golf? Well, when I go out and play a practice round, I pick up a sprinkler, such as the 157 sprinkler, and I take it and I write it down on my little scorecard, and I pace it off to the green. Now, through the years, I've paced a lot, so my pace is pretty accurate. And when I get to the front of the green here, I might come up with 144 yards. Then I walk off the green. The green might be 30 yards long. And so that means that if the green's 30 yards long, then I've got 187 yards to the back of the green. So I always know my limits. I write that down. Then before the round, I'll send my caddy out. They give us a pin sheet generally on tour, telling exactly where the pins are, but I usually send my caddy out to make sure. And if the pin is 13 yards on the green, boom, 144, 13, 157, I know exactly. I know from my little sheet where that bunker is, where the side of the green is, where all the problems are. I can then, once I have all my information, then I can go to my bag, pick the right club out of my bag, figure out what kind of shot I have to play, and play it with confidence. And sometimes, the first time you play a golf course, sprinkler heads don't have any marks on them. There are no 150-yard markers, and you don't have any idea how far you go, because most people playing a cart today, they just don't really have any idea. You're guessing all the time. So what do? I have what I call a progression method. I know what 50 yards looks like. Maybe I could walk it off through practice or other times. I've done those kind of things, and I'll say 50 yards, 100 yards, 150 yards. That looks like just over 150 yards. Or I might even, if I'm 100 yards from the green, I might even walk up 30 or 40 yards. And I look back and I say, well, that's 30 yards. I have another 30 yards here and another 30 yards. I mean, I end up with 90 yards. I mean, I think that you can guess pretty well if you just use your head, and you can come up pretty close with the right club. I never try to hit a straight shot. What do I mean I never try to hit a straight shot? Well, I'm playing the percentages. I think that we all have a tendency to either fade or hook the golf ball. And I think that you pretty well take that into account when you play every shot and use it to your advantage. As I stand here at the 9th hole at Loxahatchee, I'm looking in here to at a 150-yard shot. Wind's pretty well left to right cross, so it's just a nice 7-iron shot. I look at the green. The green is much smaller in the front, or narrower in the front, than it is in the back. It's much wider back in the back. So percentages here are that I want to make sure that I get the ball at least to the hole or past the hole, so I have the whole width of the green to play to. I have just as much green behind the hole as I have front of it, and it's not a bad putt coming down the hill. So that's where I want to hit the golf ball. okay? Now, how am I going to get the golf ball there? Well, I feel that I always like to play a little fade. If I aim the ball just to the left of the hole, I'll have a tendency to let the ball drift to the right, and particularly with the left to right wind, it'll drift to the right. So I might aim a 7-iron 10 or 15 feet to the left of the hole. That'll still be onto the left side of the green, so if I hit it straight, I'm right there. If I hit that little fade and the wind helps a little bit, I'm going to be pretty much to the hole. If I fade it a little bit too much, then I'm only going to be 10 or 15 feet on the other side of the hole. So I'm always going to be somewhere around the hole, whether I hit it straight or make a pretty good error. Obviously, the only problem is if I double cross myself and hook it. And the same applies to playing a draw into a hole. You aim it to the right of the hole, and you've got 30 feet to hit it one side of the hole or the other, and or 30-foot draw will end up just 15 feet one side of the hole or the other, whereas if you aim that straight ball at the hole and you don't know where you're going to hook it or slice it, and you move it 30 feet, then you're 30 feet away from the hole rather than 15. So it's a matter of mathematics and percentages. It's a matter of using your head to find out which side of the hole you want to play to, which is the safe side of the hole. Always make the club and the air, the selection of the club and the air to that side of the hole. It's just common sense and produces better golf scores. All of us have a tendency to either hit the ball left to right or right to left. And we all like to favor that shot. And I think that's fine. I mean, if you would look up at this hole right here, we've placed 2 flags on the green. One on the left side of the green, one on the right side of the green. The obvious situation would say, well, let's play for the fat of the green, and the pin on the left will hook the ball to the hole. The pin on the right will cut the ball to the hole, always using the fat of the green as the logical place to play from. I think that's fine. I think that's great in theory, but all of us can't do that. I can do it sometimes, sometimes I can't. If I'm playing very well and playing left to right, then I'll go ahead and take my shot at that right-hand pin placement. But I'll shy away from the left-hand pin placement. I'll hit the ball at the hole and making my air to be to the right of the hole so that I'm using the fat of the green to put up the green. So let's try the left pin placement first with what I call the safe shot, hitting the ball at the hole and let it work to the center of the green. And there are probably maybe 5 or 6 pins a day that I can't shoot at if I'm playing that way. And if I do play that way, then I just forget those holes. I'll go ahead and just try to make par and move on, not try to be the bold player, play the shot that I can't play the shot that I haven't practiced. Get the ball in the center ring, get my par and move on. When the pin's in the right and I can be aggressive, go after it. So here's the first one to the left pin placement. Okay, I've hit the ball to the hole. The ball went pretty straight, but my air was to the right. The ball should end up just to the right of the hole. Now, if I were really playing well and really felt confident of a right to left shot, then I'd aim the ball at the center of the green, which is really the safer shot if you're playing well. Close the club face slightly at address, aim it up the center of the green, and play a little draw and work myself back to the hole. Now, to the right pin placement, that pin's in the back part of the green, I need one more club. So I would take, instead of a 7-iron, I'll take a 6-iron, aim it at the center of the green, and cut the ball back to that pin, using the wind and the shape of the shot to get the ball close. But always playing slightly to the left of the hole to play to the safe side. Playing percentages, playing the right shot, choosing the right shot for you and for the pin placement on the green. It's very important. Here I think I need to be observant. I've outdriven my playing partner by 2 or 3 yards, So we're both approximately the same distance from the green, and he's going to play first. Now, I can learn from him. I just want to sort of quietly look into his bag here, which is perfectly legal, find out what club he's played. Well, he's pulled out a 5-iron. Well, let's see how he hits it. Pretty good looking shot. He didn't hit it very hard. He hit an easy 5. He hit it solid. It was the right club. He's up by the hole. Now, what did I learn here? Well, I learned that, first of all, my opponent, who I know how he hits the ball compared to me, has played a 5-iron. He knows that, or I know that he has hit it solidly. I know that he's played the right club. I now then can make that judgment on my shot. Now, I can do this any place on the golf course. You can't touch your opponent's bag. You can't ask him what club he played, but you can certainly observe and look. And you can do this on the par 3s. You can do it any place on the golf course. So learn from your opponent. Learn from your playing partner. I think it'll help you choose the right club. We've talked a lot about all the hazards up around the green, where the bunkers are, where the fat of the green is, where the front of the green, the back of the green, where water might be or out of bounds, or what all our problems could be. And playing to the safe side and working our way to the hole. But we really haven't said that what we're really shooting at is the hole. And don't ever lose sight of that. Because once you've calculated all the other things about where the fat of the green and the safe side is, the object is to get the ball as close to that hole as you can. So what I try to do is, once I put all those things in my mind, make up my mind what kind of shot I'm going to play, I then focus on where I really want that ball to go, not what all the problems are and what the fat of the green is. I'm going to sit here and focus in that, yes, I'm going to hit it 6 feet left of that hole, let the wind drift it a little bit to the right, and I'm going to focus in on that, get up here. I know the shot I'm going to play. I'm going to make up my mind what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to hit this ball with a swing that I know is right before I can change my mind and before I put a negative thought in it. Once I get ready to hit it, then I hit it. And if I play that way, I find that my results will be closer to the hole more often than not. As I stand over the putt here, Get in my mind that I'm going to hit it. I know where I want to hit it. And then I hit it. You can play a more intelligent, more strategic, and more successful round of golf.